Raising the Bets is brought to you by the Star Quest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. You're listening to Raising the Bets, a family podcast of pirates and penguins. We're a Catholic couple raising 5 kids outside of Boston. Join us as we share the joys and challenges of marriage, homeschool, and our adventures near and far as we make sense of the world and experience the best parts of our culture. I'm Dom Bettinelli.
And I'm Melanie Bettinelli.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. We've completed that anyway, right?
Yes, we survived Thanksgiving 2019.
Almost intact. we'll get back to that in a second. Almost intact. And we are into Advent. Advent has begun. Cue the Christmas music. Yay! All my Christmas playlists.
Not yet.
And yet another division in our marriage.
I love Advent music. I love Christmas music too.
How often can you listen to O Come, O Come, Emmanuel over and over again?
There are so many more options beyond O Come, Emmanuel.
I know. In fact, we have an Advent playlist.
Right. The thing is, I do like Christmas music, but honestly, I want to be able to enjoy it for the entire Christmas season and not be sick of it by like the day after Christmas.
Right. Because we celebrate through Epiphany, or at least the tree stays up through Epiphany. And then beyond to, technically, February 2nd, the Feast of the Baptism of the Lord. Is that the it?
This is open for debate depending on who you talk to, but yeah.
Right, I've seen people who take it not Baptism of the Lord. Candlemas is the end. It's in the beginning of February. So yeah, some people take it a little, go somewhere in between, but hey, it's January in New England. Let's celebrate something.
Honestly, leaving the lights on is more about like saving one's sanity in the darkest, grimmest months of the year than really celebrating. At some point, like you're just kind of holding on.
Yeah. So, So let's get back to Thanksgiving and talk about what happened with Thanksgiving. So we eat dinner at home. We cook dinner here. We used to, I think we mentioned this last week. We used to go to my brother's house, and his wife Carol would do all the big cooking. And then a few years ago, we stopped, and so we make dinner at home. So we don't have any guests. We don't have guests. It's just us. So
it kind of feels like just like another family meal, but like
done up. We do it up. We put a tablecloth out. We have extra dishes that we eat, extra things that we make and that sort of thing. We talked about that last time about what we were going to make, but and I think we talked a little bit about the difficulties of like our fridge is full already. Where do you put all the food that you're buying to make for this meal? And one of the tricks is, what do you do with the frozen turkey? So like you could buy a fresh turkey, but you have to do that. You'd have to be willing to go to the store like on Tuesday, which is crazy.
Also, you have to know where they sell fresh turkeys, because like our grocery store does not sell fresh turkeys.
This is true. Yeah,
they only have frozen turkeys. So I'm not even sure where one goes to buy a fresh turkey.
Well, we could get it from the Coppicat Farms at the farmers market. Order it ahead of time, and then you pick it up that week. It's so much hassle to get a fresh turkey. Okay, so frozen turkey. So you get this big frozen hunk of bird that you got to stick somewhere. And so we stick it in the fridge. You went on Monday.
Yes.
And this is our eternal debate, is when do we have to get the turkey in order for it to be defrosted in time to cook it Thursday morning? And we seem to be stuck on this idea that Monday is sufficient time for it to defrost, which apparently it isn't.
It's not so much stuck on the idea of Monday. It's just that logistically speaking,
when else?
How many days can you like sacrifice
half the fridge
to a bird?
Yes. So in the past, what we've done is we've stuck it in a cooler and brined it for several days with ice and put the cooler outside. It's been cold. We live in New England, so it's cold outside, right? Except it hasn't been. It's been actually pretty warm out. And we both were kind of iffy about the idea of sticking it in a cooler outside when it's 50 something degrees out.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like safe.
That seems, yeah. I mean, so some people
Also,
online were telling
me
I was worrying
right.
too much.
Not to mention that in the past, when we've done the bird in the cooler thing, nobody ever tells you how hard it is to clean out the cooler. Like, we don't have a gigantic.
That cooler gets gross.
We don't have a gigantic sink.
Right.
Our kitchen sink is divided. It's one of the, so it's not one.
All we
big
have is
sink.
the kitchen sink and the bathtub, and I'm not
We don't have a utility sink.
Gross, poultry contaminated cooler in the bathtub where I and the kids bathe, and you and I.
And it's too cold to like hose it out, because at this point our hoses
are put away.
Yeah.
Well, they should be put away. Like, I'm not turning on an outdoor faucet because those are off for the season. Right. We don't have any way to clean it. And so the last time, I'm going to gross you out, that cooler sat outside till the spring. I mean, again, it's cold out. It was
disgusting.
But it was pretty gross. Cleaning out was a really gross thing. So that was out. So here I am on Wednesday. I'm like, I wonder if this bird's ready. I pull it out of the fridge, clank, clank, clank. It's solid as the proverbial rock. I mean, this thing was frozen through and through, and I'm thinking, oh, what am I going to do? So I go online, what we all do now, right? I Googled it. So I Googled, what do you do with a frozen turkey? So there were two options, basically. Fast thaw, which means you put it in a bucket or a cooler, and with ice, and you change it every 30 minutes for 6 hours until it defrosts. So you got now in the wrapper. So it's not gross turkey water, like gross contaminated water. It's still in the wrapper when you do this. But it means you got to babysit this thing for 6 hours every 30 minutes, dumping and filling. I'm like, I don't want to do that. So what's the other option? Well, I found it on Epicurious, the website, and they linked to something from the ThermoWorks company. ThermoWorks makes the ThermaPen thermometer. That's the one you see on all the cooking shows. Everybody, it's the best one out there. We have one. And they have this method where they said you can take a rock solid frozen turkey and cook it Thanksgiving morning. And this is how. I'm like,
this seems like a winner, like a gamble.
It was a gamble.
But
if it didn't work, we're eating hot dogs on Thanksgiving.
Right.
So
we could probably have like prevailed upon John to let us like
not nibble on the carcass of his family's turkey.
Yeah.
John, could we nibble on your family's turkey? I mean, at that point, it would have been pathetic. I would have just, got another turkey or finished cooking this one another day when it was actually done. But in any case, I didn't have to do that. I got up at 5:45 in the morning. You unwrap it and you put it in the oven at 325 for 3 hours. Then by that point, it is defrosted enough where you can pull out the neck. That was a bit of work. And the giblets and the pop-up thermometer that no one should ever rely on. The thing is a ridiculous waste of plastic. And then you put it back. Then you kind of you coat it with I coat it with an herb rub, or an herb paste with olive oil and stuff, and threw some lemons in the sliced up a lemon and threw it in the inside, and put it back in.
If Lucy didn't have allergies, we would use butter.
I totally would use butter.
Yeah.
And back in the oven for another. So it said for a 14-pound bird, we had a 13-pound bird. For a 14-pound bird, it said another 3 to 3.5 hours. At 2 hours and 30 minutes, I checked it. It was done.
That's really fast. That's fast even for a non-frozen bird.
That was like 4.5 hours. Yeah.
That seems like
at 325.
That seems incredibly fast.
Now, could the skin have been crisper? Yes. I would have liked crispier skin on the turkey. There were some parts of it that were pretty crispy, but other parts that were not. So they could have been crispier. But there's plenty of...
But you wouldn't let me eat the crispy skin, even what little there was, so I don't understand.
Well, the crispy, so serve it at the table with the crispy.
By the time it gets to the table, there's no crisp.
The reason I didn't let you eat it was because it was still like an hour or two we were going to eat. And by that, the skin is keeping the meat moist.
Right. But by the time you eat, the skin is no longer going to be crispy, no matter how crispy it is when you take it out of the oven.
If I were taking it out closer to when we were going to eat it, then I would say, okay, eat the skin. I didn't want to eat the skin and then leave it sitting on the counter for 2 hours or an hour.
Okay.
So that was the big reason. So, so it was done like early, and then I was able to make a gravy out of all the juices in the bottom, which was tons of that. It turned out really well.
It was a tasty bird.
It was a tasty bird.
Unfortunately, actually,
and juicy.
It was not very big.
No.
There was not a whole lot of leftover meat on that bird.
A 13-pound bird between all of us. There was not a lot. There was some extra, but not a lot extra. That's true. This is true.
There was only enough for like one meal of leftovers.
You ought to just buy like a 13-pound bird and 5 drumsticks, or like 4 extra drumsticks, because all the kids want drumsticks for whatever reason. I don't like the turkey drumstick, frankly. It's too stringy to me. That's not good meat to me. But the kids like it. I don't know. They like the novelty. So, success.
They haven't had enough drumsticks in their lives to be
disappointed.
Yeah, to expect disappointment.
Right. All the other sides were really good. The mashed potatoes were good. We had all the stuff we talked about. Brussels sprouts with bacon. We had mashed potatoes, sweet potato.
My sweet potatoes, even though I left them in the oven forever, were still undercooked, but the microwave saved them.
Yes, the microwave in a little bit. So all that, and the challah, you made the challah bread.
That was really good.
That was really awesome. It's always really awesome. All right, so the meal was good. Then after that, we clean up and we head out to my brother's house for dessert. And this is the other annual tradition we mentioned before, is the whole family gathers at my brother's house, which is about half an hour away, for dessert. Around 4:00, and there was, oh my gosh, so many desserts. But what so those?
Okay, there were 2 cheesecakes,
homemade.
At least one of them was homemade. The other one I'm not so sure about.
Okay.
There was a key lime pie, which I think was store bought.
Yep.
There were 2 apple pies, both
right.
store bought.
Yep. Well, no. Kiara's was made. She made her apple pie.
Okay, there were 2,
which was good enough to be store bought. Like it was. I mean, really
right.
good.
It was
good.
Yeah. There were at least 2 apple pies. There might have been more. There was a cherry pie. There was at least 1, maybe 2 pumpkin pies.
Your pecan pie.
I brought a pecan pie. And that's not counting the pie I brought for Lucy, which was an apple pie.
So you made an apple pie just for Lucy for her allergies.
Right. Because she can't have wheat and she can't have
butter,
and she can't have corn, like most pies are thickened with cornstarch. So pretty much like an off-the-rack pie is not going to work.
So what did you make the crust with?
Well, I had several different boxes of gluten-free cookies that she didn't like. There was a box of snickerdoodles. There was a box of cinnamon crunchy cookies. There was a box of, what do you call them? Sugar cookies.
Mm-hmm.
So there are 3 like partial packages of cookies that have been sitting on the shelf for quite some time. They were probably a little stale by this point, honestly. So I made a cookie crumb crust, which is not usual for apple pies. It's usual for like
right. Pumpkin pie or something like
custard
that.
Pies.
Custard pies, yeah.
But so I decided to risk it. It might get soggy. It might be gross, but I thought I'd try it. I did use some butter here because the pie was going to be baked long enough that I thought that it would be okay.
Again, the allergist said she should have butter and milk that are baked in baked goods at a certain temperature for a certain amount of time, so she can develop tolerance for it.
So anyway, for her particular needs, like the baked butter, I thought would not irritate her.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically that was the pie crust, which turned out slightly soggy, but the flavor was really good because the 2 different kinds of cinnamon cookies had that nice cinnamon flavor, but it wasn't overwhelming because it had the sugar cookies to kind of tone it down a bit.
And no top crust.
No top crust.
Okay.
Some of the apples on the top got a little bit black. I just pulled them off, and partway through the cooking, I pulled off a couple because there was too many apples anyway. It was a gigantic mound of them, so I just pulled off a few of the darker ones, and then it was fine. Then for the filling, just Granny Smith apples with some cinnamon, some cloves, some nutmeg, and then for the thickener, I used a mixture of tapioca starch and arrowroot starch. I have in the past, I found that tapioca doesn't quite get it quite thick enough. Like the blueberry pie I made with tapioca was a little bit too thin.
Yeah.
A little soupy. I wanted to really avoid the soupiness, and I know that I've used arrowroot successfully in sauces in the past, so I thought I'd try it. And I was really pleased with it. Was a nice, thick filling.
Awesome. Yeah, it was really good. I had a piece, and yeah, it turned out really well. I think she liked it a lot.
Lucy really liked it a lot.
Yeah.
She was very happy to have her own pie at Thanksgiving.
Right. Yeah, and of course we had to put a note on it, had to separate it out. So don't use, anyone can try it, but don't mix utensils, no cross contamination.
Everyone else was afraid to try it. I think they were afraid. I don't know.
It would be a gross allergen free food, but it was good. It was good.
So yeah, then
and it was a nice time. We got to see everybody. The only people who weren't there were my dad, who was with my half sisters, and Joe, my nephew Joe, who was working. He was bussing. He was waiting tables. He has a part-time job waiting.
He was waiting tables on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, he was working at this really high-end steak steakhouse down in Providence. So he's probably making really good money. Big tips, especially given Joe's personality. He has got that big Italian personality, that gregarious sort of thing. So he was doing that.
I did not realize he was working. I assumed he was with his
girlfriend. Yeah, he was there earlier. She had said, Patty said. So yeah, it was really nice. Kids were a little crazy. Our kids and my sister's kids. So what's that? 13 of them running around my brother's house. So a little while. We had to calm them down a few times, but it was all right.
Yeah, it was good. It was tiring. I mean,
yeah, it's as usual as the introvert.
Right. And I also come from, like, we never went anywhere at Thanksgiving. I mean, maybe once or twice when I was really little, but
you didn't have lots of family living nearby.
We didn't have lots of family nearby. I mean, my Uncle Paul lived near us when I was really little, but then they moved away, and my Uncle Dan also had lived with us near us and then moved further away. So mostly for us, like growing up, holiday meals were like you ate the meal and then everyone went off and did their own thing, like went and read a book somewhere or watched a movie, and it was very low key. And so the like eat the holiday meal and then go somewhere is still a little jarring to me.
Frankly, that's what it was for me too. This was our thing, and if we were in Texas, we'd be doing that. We would be going to your mom and dad's house for a family meal, just like your brother, all three of your siblings do now.
Yeah, but then after the family meal, we would just like
that's it. Right. But if I could picture that it wouldn't be very different for, say, Tim, with slightly different circumstances, where they would eat a meal at home and then come over afterward. I mean, that doesn't seem out of the ordinary. I'm just saying your memory is based on when you were not, when you were all not married with kids. This is sort of the thing that happens when you. I mean, when I was a kid, that's what we did. We had a meal in one place and stayed there. It wasn't a you go here, there, and everywhere. And it's the reality of the situation we're in now. But it is tiring. I'm exhausted. I was, like I said, I was up at 5:45 cooking the turkey. By the time we're in the car driving over there, and it's getting dark out. Like, the last thing I want to do is the sun's going down and we're going out for the first time that day. I'm like, oh, yeah. I just want to sit down and relax. But
so on Friday, I actually, though, even though we were all very tired, it was a bright, sunny, warm day, and I really wanted
bright, sunny, warmish.
It was warmer.
Yeah.
I really wanted was trying to get everybody to agree to go like on a nice hike.
In the past, we have taken the Thanksgiving Friday, Black Friday, we've taken the opportunity to go someplace.
But this year, all the kids were like, no, we really don't want to do anything.
They were really slug-a-bugs. I don't know what that was about, but they were slug-a-bugs. They did not want to get up, go out, put anything on. They were. You managed to pry somebody out for a walk at one point. right? Didn't you go out for a walk with
no,
like Sophie or something?
On Saturday, I did.
Oh,
on Friday, I didn't even get anyone to.
Man,
no.
Yeah, that was the.
Yeah, on Saturday, I couldn't get anyone to go for an outing either. We walked like down the street.
I mean, I'll be honest. This was like the first Saturday that I hadn't have something to do. It was kind of. I was personally happy to sit around and kind of relax without having to run someplace. But I would have gone if we could have managed, to get them all moving. But yeah, I did want to do something on Friday. I did want to get out and go, for a hike somewhere and outdoors, just get some fresh air. That would have been nice. But that was weird. But we did manage to go out Friday night, unexpectedly. So
yeah, that was.
So dinner time came, and I was making dinner, and we'll talk about a bit about what I was making because that's worth talking about. But
we were making leftover turkey soup.
Yeah, but I'll get into the details of that later. But so I was chopping vegetables, and I was like tired, distracted, probably, and I managed. I was talking to you while I was doing it. That's
because I was peeling apples for applesauce, and
I got my thumb real good with the knife. I took a bit of the end off of it, and at first, at first it's like, oh, that's gonna hurt in a second. Oh yeah, I wonder if that's gonna bleed a lot. And then I get in the bathroom, and it's like, oh yeah, this is not a stick a Band-Aid on it. This is a. I took
a look at it, and I was like, yeah, that looks like an urgent care visit. You really don't want to stick a Band-Aid on that because you're gonna regret it if you do.
Oh yeah. No, there was no way a Band-Aid would hold back what was coming out. It was our regular urgent care was closed by then. It being Friday of Thanksgiving, after Thanksgiving. Luckily there was another urgent care that's actually closer. That's not part of our doctor's network, so Lord knows how much it's going to end up costing me. But it was really nice and really uncrowded. There was literally no one ahead of us there when I got there.
There was some guy sitting in the waiting room on a laptop. I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah, there was
waiting for somebody who was being seen, maybe.
I don't know. There's a nice board there that like lists, how many people are ahead of you and what order they're coming in and that sort of stuff. Like your name and in the order. So props to them for that. I got in there and I've got we all had to go. I couldn't just drive myself because I had to hold the paper towels on my hand. So I didn't have free hands to drive. So and we can't leave the kids here alone. They're not old enough yet. And so as we've talked about before, so we all bundle up into the car and drive up to the place, and everybody grab a book, and they're all sitting in the lobby, and the lady's like, let me get the nurse to put a temporary Band-Aid on that, and she, as she's putting it, goes, oh, you've already got multiple levels of towel and gauze here. I'm like, oh yeah, this thing's a gusher. So we get back there, and it was really weird. I don't know how much to say. If you're squeamish about blood,
just don't.
So they ended up having to cauterize it, which is chemical cauterize. So they put they cut a little this foam thing, and they put it on it, and it ends up stopping up everything. It stops up the mess because it was too big there's nothing to stitch, honestly, and to do it they had to put a tourniquet on my finger, which. It's this rubber. It's like this rubber ring, like a rubber O-ring, that's too small. They have to really jam it in over your finger. Now, since your finger hurts, they have to numb the finger. So to do that, they have to jab you with some needles. And man, those needles hurt more than the cut did. I mean, it was ow. So that all went numb. They put the thing on, and then we were out of there within an hour at the most?
It was about an hour, yeah. And then we had to go home and I had to cook dinner.
Right, because, I get this big honking bulb of gauze on the end of my thumb. Luckily, I'm down to just a Band-Aid now today, which it's Sunday, so only a couple days. But, so that was no fun, and trying to get anything done without a thumb. Like, you don't realize how many things you have to grip between your thumb and your forefinger until you can't grip it. Like, I was getting dressed for church this morning, I realized I couldn't button the buttons on my shirt because I need those thumbs.
Yep. I mean, I did this with my left thumb a few years ago.
Right.
It was, I had a flat spot on the side of my thumb for a while because I had taken off a pretty good sized chunk.
I mean, this is literally, I did literally the same thing. I'm going to have this flat spot on my thumb. I did a similar thing to this forefinger on the same hand like 15 years ago. So yeah, and the nail is still weird. So we'll see.
My thumb mostly grew. I mean, you can't really see that it looks weird anymore. So.
You still get
it
your
grows
fingerprints?
Back. Yeah.
Oh.
It wasn't the tip. It was the side.
Oh, okay. Mine's the tip of it. So we'll see how that goes. So that was fun. And now it's Sunday, and we're waiting for, well, what the news is calling the snowstorm, big snowstorm. Where we are, I'm looking at the forecast. So between Sunday and Tuesday morning, we're supposed to get all the snow, and it's going to switch to rain. And I'm rooting for like all rain. I don't want any snow because I don't want to have to shovel it, not with down one hand.
Right now, we've got big, fat flakes falling, and it's really pretty.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it looks like somebody's shaking out a feather bed. There's like fat flakes the size of.
It's like down, eider down.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty, and it's a coating right now. The forecast calls for where we are 3 to 6. There's areas north and west of us. They're talking 20 inches. So some people are going to get whacked real good, but they're in the hills. They're used to getting whacked real good. That's. We're getting 3 to 6. I saw one that said 6 to 8. I'll take the 3 to 6. I tried to get the snowblower running the other day. It's not running yet. I don't know why. Probably needs spark plugs or something. It's probably all gunked up. So I got to get the small engine guy to come out and look at it. So I'm down to shovels in one hand. We'll see how that goes. The kids are all like, "Oh, we'll help." I'm like, "You'll push around the top layer of snow is what you'll do. None of them get down to the pavement and scrape it, But I'll have to teach them again how to do that. So that's what we're waiting for. So one of the things we talk about with the food is we wanted to talk about this question of, with Thanksgiving is the big eating holiday. Of course, Christmas and Easter has got big meals, but Thanksgiving is the big one, and it's always on a Thursday, of course. And the question comes, with all that preparation you got to do, all the cooking, all the prep, all the food you've got to buy just for that one meal, what do you do for dinner on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday? And I'd love to hear from listeners. What do you do for dinner on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday?
So I asked this on Facebook. All of my friends chimed in, and a lot of people just said either, "Oh, we eat whatever we usually eat," and then a lot of people said, "Well, we just like do really quick, easy meals like hot dogs or
sandwiches,
pasta,
yeah,
that sort of thing."
Yeah, we kind of fell in between. Well, part of our problem is we have a lot of picky eaters, and a lot of people do.
And allergies.
Allergies are a hard one. And then it's just like what? So what did we do? So on one day we had pasta and sauce, right?
Right.
And then I know on Wednesday we kind of gave up and just had pizza delivered.
Yeah, Wednesday I was done. I'd been cooking all day, and I did not want to cook anymore because I knew it was going to be more cooking on Thursday.
Right. So yeah, and we've done that in the past. In the past, we've done quiche on Thursday. So, I mean, on Wednesday. So
I was a lot more ambitious that year.
Right. So, a little, and that might even have been a year when we were at, over at Bernie Carroll's house and not here.
Right.
So
I was just making 1 or 2 sides, not a whole dinner.
Right. So, what do people do? What do you do for? And that part of that is that whole problem of we have a limited space. We don't have a second fridge. We don't have a full size stand up freezer. I hear like people talk about I belong to the Cooks Illustrated Facebook group, and these people have they have a whole almost another kitchen in the garage, and they have all this everyone has a second fridge, a full size fridge.
Honestly, if we had a garage or a basement, we would have a second fridge.
Yeah,
if we had space for it.
Well, we'd have to. I mean, but then again, we're 7 people. I mean, I know people who have 12 kids and they have a milk fridge. Never mind the rest of it. They have a fridge just for milk. So it's I can imagine. I mean, I would love to have another fridge where you could store stuff because our fridge is always overfull. It's so I get especially at holidays. At holidays, if just to have a place where you could put a turkey to dry brine, these recipes, take your 15-pound turkey and put it uncovered into your refrigerator. I'm like, so I'm going to have this gigantic raw piece of meat that's like a germ factory that can contaminate everything. And it's just going to hang out in the fridge and hope that nothing touches it.
The people who write those recipes and the people who follow those recipes have a second fridge.
Yes.
I guarantee you.
Yes.
That is written with the idea of 2 fridges.
Just like every fridge on TV in a TV cooking show is nearly empty. They open the door and there's like 6 things in there that have been carefully placed by the set dressers, and they slide this half sheet pan in full of stuff. It's like, come on, who's got that room? Nobody's got that room.
No, well, a lot of people do though. A lot of people have second fridges.
Well, yeah, but not on their main fridge. I'm saying. But you're right. A lot of people have a second fridge. Although I wouldn't want to have to carry things down to like a basement or out to a garage, like a sheet pan of food.
I would totally do that if I had the room to do it.
To carry it down stairs? That's just asking for trouble, I think. But whatever. Well, you could move other stuff down there, I suppose. But yeah, that's a whole thing. I mean, I would love to dry age meat for like when we're grilling in the summer or that sort of stuff. Like sure, I would be all for it. We just need the room. So there's that. So I mentioned, I said we would talk about the soup that we make. We made this soup once before, and it all starts with the bones.
I think we've made it more than once before.
We made it, well, no, we've made turkey soup once before, but last year was the first time we intentionally went for smoky spicy.
I do not remember this the same.
I wrote a online about it. That's why I remembered to do it. I had a thing like we were talking about this. So one of the things I'd read last year was an article about how turkey goes really well with anything that's smoked or smoky. So like chipotle, adobo, anything like that. It's in fact in Mexican cooking, it's often with a smoky sort of application recipe and spicy. So jalapeno or whatever. So we did this once before. So the way it starts is right as soon as we're done and cleaning up from dinner on Thursday, we strip all the rest of the meat off of the bones. Not every single bit, but all the good chunks of meat that we're slicing for sandwiches or whatever we're going to eat it with. And we put the bones in a big pot, fill it with water, and put it to simmer. And then we let it, and how that pot is like, I figured it's going to be like at least 10 quarts, 12 quart pot, right? I think that's as big as it is, the stock pot. And so we fill it with water, and then we let it sit on low for like, I think this time we did it for 24 hours. We simmered that. And
easily.
Yeah. And we just go forever. And you keep adding a little bit of water if it gets too low, just so it doesn't get too low. You could, someone asked, like, well, what if I don't have room for all of that liquid? You could simmer it down. Like you could eventually take the bones out and just simmer it down to it's almost dry, not even dry, but to just like an inch of really thick stuff, like a bouillon, and save that.
Right. I've known people who basically when they make chicken stock, they take out, you get to the point where you're done.
You below the bones. Yeah.
You take out the bones.
Yeah.
And you strain the broth, but then you just continue to boil the broth down until it's like solid, and then that's basically bouillon.
Yeah, basically bouillon, and then you just add water to it, and it's a concentrate.
Right. But I've definitely like boiled my stock down so it's concentrated, so that it's like, add 50% again more water when you actually make soup with it.
Right. So, but this time we didn't bother because we just strained it and then filled up our soup pot with the broth and added in leftover turkey, a can of smoked fire roasted tomatoes. Those we use a can of Rotel tomatoes, which if you're from anywhere in the south or southwest, you know what Rotel tomatoes are. They're canned tomatoes with jalapenos mixed in already, cooked in it already. Yeah. It's not really spicy. But it's got a little bit.
It depends on how you define really spicy.
I suppose. Some people are very sensitive to spicy would think it was spicy. So those two, and then cilantro, and we cooked up some. This is where I ran into trouble. Carrots, onion. You sauteed those up first. Carrots, onion, and celery, and then you put it all in the pot, and you add some near the end. If you get the chipotle and adobo, so the chipotle is a smoked jalapeno, and adobo is a spicy dark sauce that it's sold in. It comes in a can. It's in Tex-Mex cooking, but I think it's even used in Filipino cooking a lot. I think. I might be wrong on that. That might be a different kind of adobo. But
I think that yeah, it's same word but different.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. So you take one of those or half, depending on how spicy you like it, and you chop it up fine and you mix it in, and it adds this smoky goodness to it. And it's a really good soup. And you serve it with shredded cheese like Monterey Jack or Mexican shredded mix is what we use. Tortilla chips, even. It's like a tortilla soup, basically.
Right. This is why I'm confused, because basically I've made turkey tortilla soup lots and lots of times.
But this is smokier. We intentionally make it with the smoky stuff.
Evidently you had something about it being smokier. I don't know.
Okay. All right. So
I don't understand.
Okay.
Why this is different than tortilla soup.
Okay. I have a thing that I wrote about this like last year or the year before where I was talking about how we intentionally were going with this, adding these smokier, spicier things to a soup that we made that was a turkey soup that wasn't spicy and smoky. Okay. It was a turkey tomato rice soup. We didn't add any rice this time. We just ran out of time because of my misadventure. But
okay. Evidently, you and I remember two different things.
Okay. So, but it's a really good soup. I mean, I enjoyed it. Kids, meh.
Some of the kids liked it. Some of the kids did not.
Which is the usual.
Par for the course.
But
the kids who like tortilla soup liked it. The kids who don't like tortilla soup don't like it.
And of course, we segregated some of it so that it didn't. Some of the ones that didn't have tomato or the Rotel tomatoes, spicy stuff in it. So it was basically just a turkey soup.
It was just turkey with vegetables.
Turkey with vegetable soup for the kids who don't like tomatoes in their soup or who don't like spicy. So,
which is overlapping.
Right.
Those who don't like tomatoes also don't like spice. So.
Right. So it was a good soup, and I've been eating it, the last couple of days for lunch. There wasn't, and that was the other thing. Is like as you said, there wasn't much in the way of turkey leftovers.
Right. I mean, everybody had. I think all the kids had like some plates of like turkey stuffing, mashed potatoes, etc. Like
leftovers.
Made a plate of leftovers. They did a couple of those, and then we made soup, and that was the only thing I actually cooked with the leftovers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the other thing I did was on Saturday morning. I'd seen somebody talking about this. I got some of the stuffing, put some butter in a pan, put some of the leftover stuffing in the pan, let that cook up a little bit, heat up a bit in the pan, put that on a plate, make a couple of over easy eggs, and put those over it like you would with hash. It was really good, I have to say. It was good.
I have to say, I was really pleased with the way the stuffing came out. I used a variety of leftover bread from
the freezer.
Yeah, but a lot of it was artisanal bread. So there was like some baguette from our favorite French bakery, and there was like some nice multi-grain hearty bread, and I think there was even some like of a cheesy like cheddar cheese bread.
Huh.
And so I just I cubed that all up and I toasted it. I also threw in some toasted pecans.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They were left over from my pecan pie, and celery, onion, mushrooms.
I bet you could have thrown in some pumpkin seeds in that if you know like the pepitas, you know the toasted pumpkin seeds.
Yeah,
that might have been pretty good too if I think about it.
And yeah, and then I used some homemade chicken stock for that, and I used for the liquid, and a whole lot of butter. I like doubled.
It's Thanksgiving. The amount of butter. It's once a year. Yeah. It was really good. And as we were thinking about it, like it used to be like stuffing was a regular people that would eat stuffing more than just at Thanksgiving. They would eat it like as a weeknight thing. And we were thinking about it, stuffing kind of fills you up. It makes a little bit of meat go a long way. Everybody gets a small portion of meat, and then you have a bunch of stuffing, which is relatively cheap, and that fills you up.
Also, I wanted to mention that I ended up doing a little Google etymology hunt, and yes. I settled once and for all, in my own mind at least, the whole stuffing versus dressing debate.
The etymology of it. Where do the terms come from?
Right. Well, here's the thing, though. Etymology Online says that this stuff was called stuffing.
Well, what most people think that
and that dressing
stuffing refers to this bread mixture that when you put it in the bird and it's cooked in the bird, and then the same thing is dressing when it's cooked on the side outside the bird. But that's not what this
etymology online says that dressing was what the Victorians started calling stuffing because stuffing seemed a little bit indelicate. And you know how the Victorians were very concerned with language which was not refined and delicate, and
Hello, my dear, would you like some stuffing?
So
it seemed a little too French, perhaps.
Well, just the idea that you were stuffing, I think they're a little bit too physical and corporeal or something.
Well, if you think about it, dressing seems like, we're dressing. It's very modest. We dress it.
Yes. So anyway, to my mind, then, I'm not
dressing is just the Victorian name for stuffing.
Right. And whether it's in the bird or out of the bird, it's the exact same stuff. You're using the same recipe, so just call it stuffing. It doesn't really matter. That's what I say.
But we don't cook it in the bird, even though you could probably get away with it. This time we couldn't because the bird was a frozen iceberg.
I don't even see the point of cooking it in the bird. I don't think it improves the taste because what I really like is the crust. This year, I actually remembered to cook it in my 13x9 pan as opposed to in a smaller round casserole dish.
So you get a higher crust to stuffing ratio.
Yes, a lot more crusty, crunchy bits from the top. I was really happy with that.
I have to say, the quick gravy I made, I couldn't find a gravy recipe that I liked, so I kind of adapted like 5 or 6 different ones.
That's what I always do.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was a quick gravy recipe, and it was a good recipe.
It was a perfectly good, yummy gravy. I don't think the gravy needs to be fancy. It's
yeah. There was one that was like, roast the vegetables for 2 hours.
No. Nobody's got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
And really, it's not necessary. Like, there's enough flavor from the turkey. You don't need to.
If the turkey doesn't give up enough juices, and that might be actually the other benefit of the frozen bird.
Lots of juice.
All that liquid is. I mean, when it's in the oven and defrosting and melting, it's being flavored by all of the fat that's rendering,
right?
And the bird juices. So,
but if we didn't have enough liquid from the turkey, I had just made chicken stock for the stuffing the day before, and so we could have used that.
That's a good tip is to make sure you have make your own chicken stock before Thanksgiving. Have it on hand.
And I made the chicken stock in my Instant Pot. It took like 2 hours, and it was really good.
Instant Pot chicken stock is a revelation. I mean, it doesn't make as much because the Instant Pot is smaller than a regular stock pot.
Than our regular stock pot, at least.
Right. Well, it's a standard 12 quarts is a standard size, I suppose. But it's ours is a 6 quart Instant Pot. There are bigger ones. I think it's an 8 quart one out there, but it doesn't make as much. But it's still good. And in a pinch, when you need to make stock now for soup tonight or something, Right. It's there.
Yeah. And we just use the bones from like chicken wings and chicken thighs.
Right. You buy a package of chicken thighs for weeknight dinner, and then at the end of dinner, we collect all the bones and throw them in the freezer.
Right. And then
or when I order hot wings.
Right. And then all the end bits of my carrots and celery and
when you
chop onion peels.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. We're gathering up the ends of carrots and the onion peels and the garlic peels and all that stuff, and the bits of celery that got all limp in the fridge. You just throw it all in the freezer in a bag. Just keep throwing it in, and then that all goes in the pot, and it comes out really good. I have to say the turkey stock looked really good. It was like this. It was golden. It was glowing. So
it was pretty.
It was very pretty. All right, so let's move on and talk about what we've been reading or watching. It's been a busy week, so we haven't really had I haven't had a chance to watch more unusual things than I would normally. Like I've been keeping up with The Mandalorian and For All Mankind, and then my usual Doctor Who and Star Trek stuff. I gotta watch for the podcasts. But I have recently read. I finished reading a novella in the Expanse science fiction series, which recently concluded, which is very interesting. The series of books concluded, but they have these novellas that they've written, and I think they're continuing to write, which take place in that universe, in that story space, but not of the same characters.
Interesting.
Yeah, so this was a good, decent length novella that had a couple of good twists, and it was very interesting. It's called Oberon, and if you've seen the sci-fi now Amazon Prime series called Expanse, that's based on this series of books. Really good world development, world building in this, and this really plays on the perceptions, people's self perceptions, and the ideas we build up about the way we see the world. You have these very different ideological viewpoints, and they do a very good job of really living inside even viewpoints that we might find unacceptable or odious. They do a good job of living inside those. So that was a pretty good Oberon. It was called. It was not too long. It only took me a couple days to read. Now I'm in the middle of reading the latest Tom Clancy novel. Now, of course, Tom Clancy died a few years ago, but a few other authors have picked up the series.
So not really Tom Clancy, but sort of.
It's Tom Clancy's characters.
Yeah,
it's a continuation. They've kind of gone in two threads. There's Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan series and Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan Jr. series. So Jack Ryan is the character originally was Harrison Ford in the movies. CIA analyst who eventually ends up becoming president through a very...
And Junior is his son?
Junior is his son, who is a Black Ops covert, like off-the-books spy, like special spy. It takes too long to explain, but he's like the son of the president, yet he's a spy out there.
This seems hard to swallow.
Well, they have intentionally kept him out of the public eye for all of his father's public career, and he stays out of the public eye. He wears a disguise. He's always got these cover identities when he's on the move, like a disguise as in he'll grow a big beard, and no one he doesn't do any official functions, so he's not really noticed. But that always plays a part in his stories, is making sure people don't figure out who he really is. If he gets captured by, say, a terrorist, and they know he's the son of the president, that's a problem.
I suppose that amps up the tension, like the dramatic tension.
It adds an element that isn't there in other stories. So it's very interesting, and his movement into becoming this sort of special, this undercover spy operator, was gradual over a series of books. It didn't just happen.
So he didn't start off as
he started off as an analyst like his dad did.
Oh, okay.
And he ended up like his dad, moving into the field more and more, becoming a field operative. So this book I'm reading is a Jack Ryan Sr., the dad, focused novel. So the dad is the president. One of the interesting things I like about it is there's this character, Father Peter West. He's a missionary priest in Indonesia who is a former CIA agent and friend of the president, Jack Ryan.
Okay.
who ends up, something happens. I don't want to ruin the story. But it's very interesting to see. I mean, the author, Mark Cameron, does a pretty good job of dealing with the Catholic stuff. Certainly honors and respects it. There's nothing that undermines the Catholic stuff. In honors and respects why a man would become a priest, and the idea that he would have this vocation, and how does he deal with having been a CIA agent in East Germany during the Cold War and all this other stuff. It's very interesting. I'm fascinated by this character. I'd love to see more about him. Kind of interesting guy. He's left all that behind. He hasn't done anything with it for years, ever since he became a priest, and suddenly he's in this situation where it comes up.
I see.
So that's pretty good. So you mentioned that you've been watching something unconventional, something on YouTube.
Yeah, I guess. I've been watching sort of
a YouTube channel.
The video blogger is her name is Bernadette Banner, and she's sort of she does historical recreations of fashion.
Right.
So she tries to, as much as possible, use not only use the techniques that would have been used. So she finds historical patterns, and she does everything from like the 14th century through like the Victorian era, maybe even later. I don't remember. I don't know her exact years. So she's done like, medieval dresses, and the videos I was watching most recently was she did an entire Victorian outfit, a Lady Sherlock Holmes, complete with like the
cape.
The coat with the cape,
yeah.
Which I can't remember the name of that coat. And she did a skirt, and she did all the under things too. She made herself a corset, and she used original patterns, like Victorian era patterns, which then she had to like sort of adapt to herself. And one of the interesting things is that she actually has scoliosis, and so all of her stuff has to be adapted to her particular body shape. So like her corsets are they would
crooked.
have to be well they're very specific to her, but she did a whole thing about corsets and how she grew up wearing a brace anyway because of her back, and when the doctors took it away and told her she couldn't wear it anymore, she actually didn't like that because it was so comfortable. It was more comfortable to wear it than not. So she has this whole thing about how like the whole idea of like super tight lacing was sort of an anomaly. I mean, it's like it was sort of the Victorian equivalent of like, think about like weird high celebrity fashions and like the weird things that people do,
like super tight jeans or super tight.
Yeah, just like the things that you see on the runways and you go, that's really weird.
Right. That's
yes,
not what
there
normal
were people. Yes, there were people who did super tight lacing and like hurt themselves, but everyone at the time sort of was like, "It's a bad idea. You shouldn't do that."
Right.
But most women through much of European history wore some kind of supportive undergarment that was not super tight laced, and in fact, actually gave women support so that when you were doing heavy lifting, you know how weightlifters wear a supportive
weight belt. Yeah.
Weight belt?
Yeah.
Well, basically, that's what corsetry was through much of history. Is women are doing heavy lifting, they have a supportive garment that keeps them from hurting themselves while they're.
Or you could say weightlifters wear corsets.
Right, you could say that, and you wouldn't be wrong. So I'm kind of fascinated by it because, of course, I grew up on novels where there was like Louisa May Alcott was very against women wearing corsets because I think she was reacting in part to the weird fashion for tight lacing at the time.
Yeah, there was this whole like this mindset that like corsets are somehow about repressing women or something.
Right, but in fact, women wore them for hundreds of years, mostly because they actually worked. They were comfortable. Yeah. They were not oppressive.
I'm gonna guess that women didn't wear stuff because that because the men told them to wear it. I'm gonna guess that if women didn't want to wear something, they wouldn't have worn it.
Pretty much. I mean, they were the ones making the clothes. They spent a lot of time making stays and corsets and these undergarments, which
clothes were expensive in both time and money.
Very expensive.
And so you didn't make and wear things unnecessarily.
Right. And what I find interesting too is that nowadays we've gotten rid of all of that, but then we're starting to kind of bring a lot of it back because they basically made the clothes to shape their bodies so that the shape of the dress on the outside is determined by like the under things that you're wearing underneath. And so of course women had like nice slim waists and big hips because they were padded at the hips and pulled in, but not like tightly at the waist. They were just
shaped,
form fitting.
Yeah.
Nowadays we expect women to have the bodies that still look like that, but instead of shaping the clothes, we're shaping the bodies themselves and starving ourselves, etc., in order to try to look that way. But it doesn't really work so well.
But then, like, okay, I'm out of my depth here. But there, like, isn't there things like Spanx, like?
Okay, but see, here's the thing, though. Spanx is all synthetic fabrics. It doesn't breathe.
No, but the point is that it shapes, it right. gathers, it holds.
Well, sort of, except it's kind of just squeezes as opposed to
it's right.
Whereas boning or the various things that people used in corsets actually created a shape,
right,
which sat on top of you. It didn't like necessarily push you. It was more about like putting a shape between you and the outer garment, so that the outer garment had a nice shape to it, but it wasn't like shaping your body.
Yeah, 10 pounds of dough in a 5-pound bag
right.
of spandex.
Anyway, I'm very addicted to watching like how did people dress in the past videos on YouTube, because it's so revelatory. Like, to really understand people in the past, understanding what they wore and how they got dressed, how they did their hair. I watched this whole great video about how 18th century people did their hair with the powder and the pomade. They didn't wash their hair, but the powder and the pomade was basically like a dry shampoo.
See, the problem is almost all of our knowledge of these periods come from movies, which a lot of the times the people making the movies have this particular bias about that, and they're not interested in giving us an accurate recreation.
Or they just haven't really done the research.
Right. I mean, can't be bothered to be accurate. They want to convey something.
Anyway, I have this theory that like as more and more women have entered into academia, a lot of these have become sort of research topics which maybe male historians in the past weren't all that interested in, but women have really been interested in, like the history of fiber arts, clothing, but also other kinds of fiber arts. And that there's a lot more really good research out there in the last few decades than there was when I was growing up. And so when I was younger, like all Hollywood costumes and historical were pretty bad.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot more really good information out there about how people dress.
This reminds me a lot of that YouTube channel I like, Townsend's, which is this guy who owns a shop that does historical recreation wear and stuff like household goods from the late 18th century, the late 1700s colonial America, and Revolutionary War America, and he always wears the accurate outfit for the age, or of various kinds. And I mean, this is fascinating. It's kind of this funny melding of futuristic technology and the past, where we're using these cameras and these networks to show us all this stuff about people living as if in the past.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I feel like it's opened up a whole different aspect of history.
Cool. Awesome. So I'll put a link to that in the show notes on the website, sqpn.com/bets, and you can check it out for yourself and see if it's something that interests you. So the one last thing quickly before we head out of here, we should acknowledge that as of today, it's December 1st as we record this, it's Advent. Advent has begun. It is one of the shortest possible Advents. I think it's the shortest possible Advent.
I thought that you could have Christmas on Monday and the fourth Sunday of Advent on the Sunday. So
I think in total number of days.
Wouldn't that be shorter?
I'm trying to think. Maybe I heard someone was saying that like this time period between Thanksgiving. Actually, that's what it is. The time period between Thanksgiving, because sometimes the first Sunday of Advent can be later, like after Thanksgiving weekend. But the time period between Thanksgiving and Christmas, that's what it is the shortest.
Oh, okay. Because of the way that Thanksgiving fell this year.
Right. Thanksgiving fell very late this year.
Advent is not shorter, but the Thanksgiving
Advent can vary. It's not like Lent, which is just 40 days. This Advent can vary because
I remember one year, it wasn't too long ago, where the fourth Sunday of Advent was Christmas Eve.
Right.
And that was just, it felt absurdly short.
Right. There was
no fourth week of Advent.
Right. It's whatever the Sunday, the last Sunday before Christmas is the fourth Sunday of Advent, and you count backwards. And so it can be, what was it? So 28 can be 28 days for Advent, or it could be, I mean, we're going to be 24 days of Advent here. So, because December 1st.
It's got to be more than 4 days difference. It should be 7 days.
No, I mean, it's literally 24 days. Today's December 1st.
Right. It can be shorter. Like if this is not the shortest possible Advent.
Can it be a 21-day Advent?
Yes.
That's 3 weeks plus a day. Yeah. 21 days. And that's the shortest possible Advent.
Right.
No, that's what I'm saying. But sometimes it's 28 days. I mean, it's sometimes
right, because you get, if Christmas falls on a Saturday.
Yeah, then you've got an even, then that's the longest possible. So it's that range between 21 and 28.
Right.
I guess. 20 and 20. So actually, this is about a medium length Advent.
Right. It's a medium length Advent, but we had a late Thanksgiving.
It's very confusing. And part of the problem is because retailers are all about shopping days till Christmas because the shopping season has begun.
Actually, what's cool about this year is that the first Sunday of Advent is December 1st. So if we had an Advent calendar,
if we were on fall,
the Advent calendar would actually work this year for because it always bothers me when the Advent calendar is 24 days.
Yes.
And that may or may not coincide with the length of Advent.
Actual length of Advent, right.
So you might have several days of Advent before you can actually start opening the doors on your Advent calendar.
Right.
Whereas this year, if we had an Advent calendar, we could have opened the first door on the first day of Advent.
We literally have Advent candles on our dining room table. That is an accomplishment. We lit them last night. We said a prayer with them.
Yes.
We sang "O Come, O Come, Emmanuel." We're started. Now we won't have a tree for 3 weeks, and I don't know when we're going to get any decorations up.
I would like to note that the reason we have Advent candles on the table is because several years ago, my parents bought us a set of nice big fat pillar candles
because we kept burning through those tiny tapers.
Yeah. And so we've been using the same set of pillar candles for several years now.
Yes. Pillar candles are the only way to go. That's frankly.
And so yeah, we didn't. Now, Isabella really likes to get some greenery, like cut some holly and some ivy and make a nice wreath to go around the candles. She hasn't done that yet this year.
She needs to do that. I should know for the record, I have my Lego Advent calendar on my desk.
It is very cute.
Which also was brought out by a child today. They're taking over. But we don't usually decorate for Christmas until the week before anyway. We're not. We celebrate, like you said, we said before, we celebrate Advent, and then the week leading up to Christmas, we decorate for Christmas, and then we have everything out and for weeks. Sometimes just out of sheer laziness, we have our stuff up from Christmas through January.
Yeah.
But it's Christmas. I mean, you have a whole month of it. But yeah. So, what else are we gonna do for Advent? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, when I grew up, I remember doing the Jesse tree, but honestly, it was probably a couple of times. I don't know how often we did it.
I never did that when I was a kid.
I've tried to do it a few times.
It didn't work.
The fact is, December gets busy, and then you end up missing a day here and a day there and a day there, and before you know it, you've missed an entire week of the Jesse tree, and
nobody wants to catch up, and
you don't want to catch up, and really anything that requires you to do something every day just doesn't work for me.
Anything that has to build on yesterday, that's the key,
right?
If we do the Advent candles at dinner and with a prayer, if we miss a day, it's not like we have to catch up. You just do the next day. You do it the next day.
Right.
But anything that is you have to do, this is the first day, then the second day, then the third day, it's not going to happen.
I love the idea of a Jesse tree, reading a Bible story and doing a little ornament or picture every day. I love the idea, but I've come to the realization that I'm not that person. I am not organized. I am not organized enough. If somebody were to swoop in and offer to come every day and do it with the kids, I would totally be on board with that. Like, I love the
you love the idea
thought. I love the idea. I'm just not that mom.
Do you want to do the for a couple of times we've tried to do the Pope Benedict, a reading from Pope Benedict's the narrative birth. What is it called? The birth
infancy narratives.
The infancy narratives. That's what I'm trying to say. His book, the infancy narratives. We would do a reading from that at dinner every night.
Again, I love the idea, but the fact is that there really aren't enough days to get through the whole thing, and then you've like left like partway through.
Yeah, you haven't got to the actual nativity.
And trying to cut it down and like pick selections.
Oh, it's a lot of work.
It's too much work.
It's too much. It's not going to happen. If someone would like to do that for us, would like to give us selections out of the book that we can read.
The bottom line is I'm really lazy and I've got my hands full just homeschooling and like making dinner and keeping up with the laundry. And really, doing much more than that is just more than I can handle. Maybe I can like pawn it off on Sophia in a couple of years.
Yes, Sophie would be good for that. Speaking of get your hands full, I forgot to mention that the physician's assistant who was taking care of my thumb, I was telling her that we have 5 kids between 6, almost 7, and 13, and she said a couple times, "You got your hands full," and I just said, "Yeah," and I'm down one because the hand missing a hand. So anyway, so just remind me of that. So Advent has begun. What are your traditions? If you got any, or are you like us? You just kind of go with the flow. I mean, I know there are people out there who they have all kinds of things. They decorate everything the first Sunday of Advent and do all this stuff. So maybe that's good for you.
We do St. Nicholas Day, which we'll be doing on Friday, and right. I have actually in the past I've got all the kids' wool socks. I've got them Christmas ornaments. And this year, I have failed to do that, and it's kind of it's too late, really, to find wool socks or Christmas ornaments.
You could do wool socks.
Well, the
Amazon.
Thing is, I've been buying them on the cheap from Sierra Trading Post.
Oh, yeah.
Their shipping is way too slow.
Yeah.
But the fact is that in Amazon, it's harder to tell like what's really good quality, and like I'm afraid of getting like something that's more expensive and yet worse made.
And ducking out to the stores with other kids, that's just not gonna.
Plus, I don't even know where to go to find like good wool socks. Like I've been buying them on sale. Like I go to Sierra Trading Post and I find the sale bin and I get like $6 or $7 wool socks for the kids. If I go to the store, they're going to be like $20 a pair.
Right, REI, Yellow Bean, they're all going to be overpriced. Yeah.
And I mean, it's affordable when I buy them on sale. It's not affordable to buy.
That's true.
6 pairs of wool socks.
And we were getting the ornaments every year from, but you can only get so many ornaments too. Like
right.
We do not get we do not have a large tree. Our tree is usually like a 5-foot tree, and it's already full of ornaments.
Yeah, I'm thinking that there's going to be some disappointment and sadness because without the wool socks or the ornaments.
Well, as long as the gold coin chocolates are in there, that's.
Well, I could also like supplement gold coins and chocolate oranges. That might go a long way.
Yeah. I think chocolate goes a long way to solving disappointment.
Maybe I could still get wool socks for Christmas, and they could like just figure that Saint Nick got delayed a little bit on the wool sock front. One year, I accidentally didn't buy wool socks for one particular child. I don't remember which particular child.
They were the only one who didn't get any?
Yeah, that child. Or no, I got 2 pairs of socks for everybody, except there was only 1 pair of socks for one child. The second pair of wool socks came on Christmas morning.
Because the child made you feel guilty.
Yeah. And then we also celebrate St. Lucy's Day.
Right.
With
Santa Lucia.
Which we don't really do a whole lot. I mean, when I say celebrate St. Lucy's Day, I mean...
We have a dessert.
I make dessert.
Yeah.
I make this really pretty braided bread with the frosting on it.
And we have the song.
We sing the song.
Santa Lucia.
And then for Lucy, because she can't actually eat the really fancy braided bread that I started making before she was born, she gets gluten-free Lucy buns with saffron, like saffron buns, which she really likes. They're pretty good.
Good. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Do we have other celebrations? We go, and we also try to get to the La Salette Shrine in Attleboro, Massachusetts, which has a tradition of lighting up the whole place with Christmas lights.
It's really nice because they not only do they just have Christmas lights, but they also have a lot of like
displays of
right. There's like a beautiful lit up Stations of the Cross. There's the Mysteries of the Rosary,
the giant sized Mysteries of the Rosary
right.
that surround a pond.
They got a real donkey who's really cute,
yes.
and like several different nativity scenes.
Yeah, the holy stairs that you can climb up and pray. Although that was closed for renovation last year, but then they have like these big displays like all the apostles, or all the names of Jesus
in the history of Saint Nicholas,
right?
Like Saint Nicholas in lots of different countries or something like that.
And they have adoration chapel. They have confessions. They have a cafeteria. They have a big bookstore, big Catholic
nice.
gift store. So,
of course, we usually end up going like every other year. We made it last year. Are we going to make it 2 years in a row? That would be impressive.
That would be fun. Well, again, as they get older, it gets easier because there's less carting around of strollers and that sort of thing.
This is true.
And you can reason with them. Hey, let's go. It's fun. You remember how fun it is. Remember? Oh yeah, I remember how fun it is. Okay, let's go. So I think we'll make it happen. And because I'm working from home, it's easier for us to plan and don't have to we can go during the week and not wait for me to get home from work to go.
This is true.
That's another big one. So, all right, that's our Advent coming up. What are your plans for Advent? Again, love to hear it. What you do and what you're planning to do. So before we finish, I do want to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create Raising the Bets, including Lars S., Don H., John G., Edward C., and Ryan R. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue Raising the Bets and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. So that's it from us. Let us know what you think about anything we've discussed today by commenting at sqpn.com/bets or the SQPN Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. Or send us an email to bets, BETTS, at sqpn.com. And we'll have, like I said, the links for our discussion are in our show notes there. And remember to like Raising the Bets on Facebook, retweet us on Twitter where we're at SQPN, and spread us around on social media as much as you can. That helps us to get the word out and grow the audience, and that makes the show better. Until next time, I'm Dom Bettinelli.
And I'm Melanie Bettinelli.
Thank you for listening to Raising the Bets on StarQuest.